Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Hey, welcome to this episode of the Note Closure Show. We're kind of throwing this, last minute episode together with two lovely ladies who are real estate investors from the big, thriving metropolis of Toronto, who are note investors. And so we're glad to have them here. And they reached out and we're talking about some stuff. I said, well, hey, I'm always glad to jump on a call and help guide you along a path and kind of have a little mini coaching session. And we're like, well, let's record this so everybody else can learn from what's going on here. So we got Kayla and Thea there, ladies. Tell everybody a little about yourselves and kind of what drove you into real estate investing and kind of your journey, and we'll go from there. How's that sound?
For sure. Absolutely. I can go first. I got started in real estate probably about 4 years. And oh my God, it's going on 5 now. About 5 years. Started as a wholesaler, so wholesaling real estate. And then quickly learned the power of being able to find deals that other people can't find, and started turning that into some equity, started building a portfolio that way, built a team, a business, and now I do some coaching and some talks, helping others, kind of like what you're doing with your show here, which, just kind of gives me a lot of joy being able to, give back, transfer some knowledge and whatnot. So that's kind of my story. And Kayla actually told me about notes and, being able to flip notes, buy notes. It's like, it's kind of like wholesaling houses, but It's paper. I love this even more. So here we are.
It's good stuff. Now, on the stuff that you're buying, was it all local there, or was it spread out across Canada or some in the United States?
Across Canada. Yeah,
nice.
Across Canada. We didn't do any in the US, but yeah, right across Canada.
Awesome. Kayla, let's talk about your journey into where you're at today.
For sure. So before I got into the world of real estate, I actually was working on my other business, which is reselling electronics. So I'll buy your phone, your MacBook, and I'll resell those to a cash buyer. So my mentor at the time was like, you should learn how to bird dog. And I was like, bird what? What's that? Yeah. Like, it's kind of like what you're doing right now with phones, except you're buying houses. So I was like, tell me more. And then I did my research, got into that. That's kind of how I entered the world of bird dogging, wholesaling, housing. And now it's been almost 2 years, year and a half that I've been in the wholesaling world. And we've been doing that within Canada. And we were doing a part of a team as well for US, wholesaling a bit as well. And now we're just looking to expand on different streams of income, more passive than active. We're kind of already in the active world. So I came across notes and wanted to get into that a little bit more. So now we're in the note investing space, and coming into it, probably like a lot of your students, maybe yourself, we're looking to get our feet wet by doing both some brokering and some investing. And not broker jokering, but actual brokering in the world. So we have some questions here for you today, some to do with brokering, some to do with investing, and hopefully you can help us out.
Awesome. I'm always glad to. Now, how long have y'all known each other?
Yes. Oh,
it's an interesting story, but yeah, it's about a year and a half now.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah. So you got some questions. Hopefully I've got some answers. So we start off with the questions and then we'll dive in and we'll go wherever that takes us then. All righty.
Sounds good. Have you ever connected, first off, with a Canadian that is doing note investing within Canada? I know you come across a lot of different people. I've heard that it doesn't kind of work the same in Canada. So I'm just curious if you know anyone who's doing it here.
So since y'all have a much different mortgage market than we have here, it's all a lot of like short-term loans, like 3-year, 5-year loans. I believe you don't have really like a 30-year fixed. Well, I have actually a couple Canadian students that are on the origination side. They help facilitate new mortgages or mezzanine loans, stuff like that, but it's not the same as far as flipping paper like it is here for the most part. They'll do, sometimes they'll create it and sell it a little bit, but it's not near the same extent for the most part, since it's just such a different market. I buy a lot of institutional debt, not owner finance debt. And since you only have a much smaller amount of banks that originate loans up that neck of the woods, they don't usually sell individually up there, like like RBC and a few others. It's just a different business model up there. So that's why, I've actually quite a few Canadian students that invest here in the United States because they get better deals and better market and it's a lot easier to do. The only obviously handicap is kind of like the double taxation that you guys deal with when you're making money here in the United States and then bringing it back and really being, it's almost like a 50% tax off the profits made here in the United States for you. So we've got I got a couple of coaching students right now that have one's bought about a dozen performing notes. He's working on another 4 or 5 that a couple are non-performing. And then I got a new coaching student who's in the origination side, is a real estate investor up there who's bought 4 or 5 in his first 90 days, for 60 days actually, that are here in the United States for performing stuff as well. So that's I guess that answers your question. Your long answer to a short question, right?
Yes, thank you. Do you have a certain amount of questions for your private lender questionnaire? Because currently we have about 30 questions on ours. And my concern is there an amount that's too long or too short, right? I want to make sure that our private lenders can fill that out efficiently and not, put it on pause because they're going to come back to it later because it's too long.
So you have to understand, have you raised private capital before, or are you new at it?
New.
Okay.
For wholesaling side and for multifamily, yes, but for notes, no.
So 30 questions on the front end side. Let me ask you that question. When do you ask them to fill this out? Is this on the front end before you talk with them? Or, okay, that's way too long. You're probably not going to have a lot of success in asking people, are they boxers or briefs on the front end? You know what I mean? It's a personal conversation. And when it comes to raising capital, asking them, are you accredited right off the bat? What do you make? What do you do? That's too personal. You wouldn't jump into bed with somebody blindly and tell them all your deepest, darkest secrets unless you got a chance to know them and build rapport, right?
Yeah.
So I take it a different approach. I don't like this. Some people like, I put it on my website so people can fill out. People are not going to fill out an investor profile sheet on a website. They're too afraid of being hacked. You know what I mean? So my investor questionnaire is pretty simple. It's a 1-page questionnaire, and it comes after getting a chance to visit with them. So like, it's obviously you got their information, like, name, address, what do they do for a living? How long they've done that? What do they do for a living? What do they make per year? What's their net worth with real estate? What's their net worth without real estate? Do they consider themselves accredited or sophisticated? Do they currently invest in real estate? If so, what do they do? How much money are they looking to put to work? What kind of returns are they looking for? Are they looking more passive or active? If they have done real estate, what have they done in the past? What type of classes or education are they taking on real estate investing? Where's the money coming from? A certificate of disappointment, an IRA, 401k, credit card, line of credit. You have to put credit card in, even though you think people wouldn't be dumb enough to pull money off a credit card. People have done it. Okay. Are they involved in any lawsuits? And that's important to know if they're suit happy. You know what I mean? And then just it's a 1-page document. It's pretty simple on that aspect of things. As an ex-financial advisor, whenever a good feel is to go in and sit down with a banker of some sort, because a banker or financial advisor is going to ask some questions. What's your background? And these are good questions to ask so you build rapport. You should always do when you're talking with new investors is ask more questions than talking, because the good Lord gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. So we should do it in that ratio. Right. So I always like to ask, what's your background? Like I just did with y'all. What's your background? What do you do? Because that'll tell you a lot about somebody and what they're looking for. Because you don't want to go and promise somebody 12%, because depending on how they are raised or their background, if somebody's never invested in real estate, the finance industry tells people that 12% is risky, right? It'll be a red flag. You can say, well, you can make double-digit returns. Whoa, that sounds risky. Everything I've learned, Jim Cramer and all these finance guys say anything over 8 to 12 is risky. What are you selling Bitcoin or slinging dope? You know what I mean? So you have to ask them, what are they investing in? So if they come back and say like, I've got a CD. Okay, a CD right now, certificate of disappointment. I even say that, so it laughs. So it's what are you making, 3 to 4%? Well, what if I could show you double to triple that? After the back end. It's great. Thank you for taking the time to answer these questions. So you're making this. What if I could show you how to make double to triple that? Well, that's 8. That's 6 to 9%. That's better than 12. So comfort level to how long are they looking to tie up the funds? That's important. You know, how often they want to get paid. Those are some good questions. 30 questions right off the bat. It's going to be a really difficult time until you've already gotten a couple yeses along the way. You know what I mean? Yes. What's your background? Okay. Are you interested? These are the types of deals that we're doing. Here's a couple case studies that we're doing. You know, one of the things that I like to teach people how to do with our coaching students is put together a pitch deck. You know, a pitch deck, PowerPoint, 10, 15 minutes at max. You don't want to have longer than that because they're going to fade off. But basically, a little about you, a little about your business, a little about your background. In note investing, it's less about you. It's more about your vendors. Okay. A lot of people get afraid, well, what if I haven't done it? Well, look, if you were a realtor, you wouldn't wait till you went and bought and sold a home to go list real estate, right? You'd just go do it. You rely on your mentors, your team. Well, in note investing, what I love about it, which is different than fix and flipping in a lot of cases, is that it is really team driven with your vendors, like your servicing company, your attorneys, your network, you know, your asset protection, whoever your foreclosure team, your coaches, you know. So that's why I tell people, like, listen, these are the types of deals that we're doing. You know, a couple of case studies, one on a re-performing note, a performing note, a deal that you get a deed in lieu on, then a longer foreclosure process. So you got to really set people up properly and educate, because most note deals, if you're not wholesaling, it's going to take 6 to 12, if not 24 months, depending on the state you're buying in. Okay. So we do that 10 minutes about these are the types of deals, these are the types of returns I'm seeing. Here's my team. Here's 5 or 6 things that we always do. Always buy first liens. We're always buying below value. We put insurance. We're making sure we can foreclose, and we're doing all the heavy lifting is not being done by me. It's being done by an attorney who's done 60,000 foreclosures, or a servicing company that's servicing 10,000 plus notes right this time. That's where all the heavy lifting is done. I just have to direct them. And I have a team and a coach that help me hold my hand to the fire, you know? So that is part of your investment questionnaire, is that 10-minute pitch deck video that they watch. Because if somebody comes to me and says, well, have you watched the video? Yes, I have. Do you have any questions? And that way, your frequently asked questions are all being covered in that. You'll get a few folks that ask, yeah, I have a few more questions. How's it structured? That's great. You want to stay out of the weeds in your pitch deck video. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, 30 questions, way too long. You know, talk with other investors. I always say that, hey, you know, can you share your investor questionnaire? You know, it's pretty easy to do. Keep it simple, stupid is the way I always say. Simple, easy questions. I'm not asking for their social security number or their, you know, maiden name or their, you know, favorite pet or their high school mascot. You know, I avoid those questions. You know, it's just a question. Because here's the thing, investment questionnaire is great, but there's no guarantee that they're going to fund with you. So when I get to that question after we have built a rapport with folks, I said, if this sound, you know, and you watch the, yeah, okay. If this is something that you want to do, I need you to do a couple of things for me. I need you to do 3 things. Okay. One, I'm going to email you my 1-page investment questionnaire. I need you to fill it out fully. If you don't fill it out, I can't work with you. Okay. It's a requirement by my accountants, my attorneys. It's not really, but it's a CYA, cover your assets. All right. Because one of the most important questions, like how experienced are you? What other education are you taking? So that way, if somebody says, well, I didn't know that these ladies were going to do this. Well, BS, you did. And you're not a stupid idiot. You haven't experienced note investing or real estate investing. Okay. It also, the whole where the money's coming from, then it allows for you to detect a red flag. Well, you're pulling this off a credit card. That's not a good thing. You're pulling off a line of credit. You're going to have some payments. That's not a good thing. You know, you're pulling it out of your IRA. Well, if it's not a self-directed IRA custodian, like a American IRA or equity trust, we can't use it. We've got to go somewhere else. You know, you got to start an account somewhere. You can't use like Fidelity or Schwab or RBC's IRA. They don't allow you to invest in real estate. So that's kind of, you know, what I like to focus about the investment questionnaire. I don't approach it on the front end because it's too much. It's too, you know, too intimidating.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, besides the questionnaire, I'm going to say, okay, besides you filling that out and send it back to me, I need you to send me proof of funds. Okay. And it doesn't mean to be, I don't need your full statement. Just send me a quarterly statement or a screenshot that's showing you can block out the account number. I just need it to match up in some sort of fashion. If it's in a, you know, I don't need all of it, because what I need you to do, the third thing is just send me an email with that copy of your statement saying, hey, you know, Kayla, it's been great talking with you. I'm attaching my proof of funds. I know it shows $500,000, but I'm pledging, you know, 100K to you for note deals. And I tell folks, like, listen, I need these three things. If you're not going to give me these three things, I'm going to go to the next person is willing to provide these, because this works in your favor. I mean, do you really need these to fund a deal? No, you don't. Okay. But you do, because every time they send one of these, it's a yes. So you've heard of the yes close. You get somebody saying yes, 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 right? So raising capital is all about yes closing. Yes, they watched your video. Yes, they talked to you. Yes, they filled this out. Yes, they sent this statement. Yes, they sent a pledge letter. And then it's pretty easy to fund. But they don't send one of these things, they're not going to fund. I mean, religiously, they're probably not going to fund. And the reason you ask for this is because you're still going to have people flake. You're still going to have people flake. So you need this proof of stuff so that you can go to your seller, whether it's a bank or another note seller like me, and say, listen, my investor just flaked on me. Here's their proof of funds. Here's their pledge letter. Can you give me a week to go to my backup investor? And that works in your favor. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. And while we're on this topic, do you recommend that, let's say we have lenders who would like to invest in our deals in the States, do you recommend they open up a self-directed IRA?
If they're Canadian, they can't open up a self-directed IRA in the States, because it's a individual retirement account available for folks that are from here in the United States. Okay. So they just need to open up, I would highly recommend that they talk to an accountant or attorney. So they know that it might need to be a Delaware trust. They may need to open up an LLC and then move some money over here and go from there. So I'm not an accountant or attorney. So that's a better question for that. You're going to fund note deals, they need to wire money in. So if they wire, setting up a bank account here in the United States and then wiring from that bank account would make it the easiest thing.
Would all of the lenders have to do that? Or if we have that entire process set up already, they can wire to ours?
Well, I would highly recommend that you use an attorney on the front end side. Now, if you're just funding individual deals, just set up an escrow account with your attorney here in the United States. Okay. And then they can wire in and they hold it till you're ready to fund. Okay. That I think that builds more trust versus them wiring it to your bank or checking account. Unless you've got a proven track record. I've got some folks that'll wire directly to me because they know, hey, they're funding 4 deals. We're buying 10. So this other investor is funding 2 deals. And this other investor is funding 4 deals. We're not pooling funds, but we want to send one wire for the purchase of all 10.
Right. Got it.
Okay. What are your top 5 preferred states for non-performing notes? And for the states you would like to avoid as well?
Let's talk about the avoiding ones first, okay? Avoid New York, New Jersey. It just takes forever to foreclose there. I would avoid the communist state of California. It just is too goofy out there. It's too expensive for what you can buy one note in LA. You can buy a block in Kansas City. You know what I mean? Leverage properly. I don't buy in Oregon State or Washington State. They're not investor friendly. Okay. Plus, you need to have a separate license for those states, so it's not worth even going there. All right. Kentucky, I avoid because the state wants you to have either an individual bond, a $500,000 bond if you're buying in your name, or a $1 million bond if you're buying an LLC, and there are better deals otherwhere. I've also avoided Louisiana. It's got a weird judicial process. So my favorite states to buy non-performing might surprise you. It's a mixture of judicial and non-judicial states. Okay. I don't target just non-judicial states because those are more expensive. Like here in Texas, where I live, it's a great state, fastest foreclosure state in the country, 21 days once you're 90 days late. I mean, we have fast foreclosures, fast highways, and fast executions. Okay. All right. It's great, but it's also, I'm going to pay more because it is Texas. It's a faster, but it's good for velocity of capital for the most part. So honestly, I think the best states to focus on where you're going to see good deals, more affordable deals where your starting investors can get involved in. You don't want to buy $1 million note right off the bat because they'll type too much. But I like Michigan. I like Ohio. I like Indiana. Those 3 states I think are really some of the better states out there to start off with. Ohio is a judicial foreclosure state. It takes about 9 months unless you're buying a contract for deed and then you're evicting. Michigan is a non-judicial state, so about 90 days to foreclose. Indiana is a judicial state. It takes about 6 to 9 months to foreclose, but you can evict in 14 days in Indiana. So that's a better if you're like buying a performing or non-performing contract for deed of embargo. I like the Carolinas. North Carolina is a faster foreclosure state. South Carolina takes a year. Virginia is a non-judicial, so it's a faster foreclosure. Maryland can take about 6 to 9 months. Where else we bought recently? Yeah, Texas is great because it's here, but I don't count that as my top 5. If I see anything in Texas, it's just extra cherry on top of the note Sunday. Florida, a lot of people like Florida. You just got to be careful because the insurance costs can kill you in Florida.
Okay.
Insurance have really tripled. It's not as cheap as it used to be. It's about a year to foreclose, unless you're targeting like a really savvy borrower, and they could drag it out to 2 years in some cases. We've had that happen. So, but like I said, Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, those are the top 3. If you see something, it's pretty. Missouri's a good state too. It's non-judicial. Kansas is judicial, about 12 months, but still some really good deals in those areas. So kind of the Sun Belt, I call it, if you're a football fan out there in football season, like the Big Ten, the Southeast Conference part of the United States for the most part.
Okay, fair enough. Appreciate that. And
Yep.
then is it the same for your performing notes? You prefer the same states and the ones you don't want to touch?
Yeah, you never want to touch on the performing side. It's it's great, and some people, well, it's performing. It's great. Anybody can do performing, but I still avoid New York, New Jersey. I still avoid the West Coast because it's great if it's performing, but what happens when it goes non-performing? You know what I mean? So, like any lender, unfriendly states, I just avoid them. I don't buy in Chicago. There's a good one. Illinois, I don't like Cook County. I call it Crook. It's a corrupt government in Chicago. Honestly, it is. And so just avoid that. There's plenty of other places in the states to buy from instead of dealing in that area.
Okay. How much of a yield are you looking for on your non-performing notes?
I want to see if it's a non-performing note that we're going to get back on track, or the possibility of getting back on track. I need to see probably at least a 16 to 20 yield. It depends on what your money costs are. If you've got an investor willing to fund stuff at an 8% yield, okay, you want to probably make double that, so 16. If they reinstate, okay. If it's going to be a property you're going to foreclose on, where the borrower's not responsive, stuff like that, then you probably want to make a 20-25 yield on that front end side, or you're going to net at least a $15,000 to $20,000 check on your side for that split after expenses, stuff like that.
Okay.
And same thing, if I'm not investing performing notes, I really prefer reperforming notes, where somebody bought it non-performing, they did some work, rehab the borrower, got them back on track, and they're selling it now at a double-digit yield, 15, 16. So if I got an investor who wants 7, it's pretty easy. I can still make 7% on my side after expenses.
Nice. Okay, cool. As we're building our brand and marketing around the brand, we're still identifying who our top 4 funding partners are. And so what would you describe your top 4 funders? Like, what do they look like?
Their avatar.
Exactly.
Okay. This is great. I've never had anybody ask me this on I have, but it's been a marketing podcast, never a real estate investing podcast. And that's the important thing, is you got to know who your funding partners are. My funding partners, when it comes down to it, are between 35 and 65, homeowners, college educated. In a lot of cases, they make $75K to $250 a year or greater, and they're interested in cash flow retirement. If they don't have a college education, that's okay, but they've got work experience, and they either have a job title in sales, management, or have an O in their job title, CEO, COO, CMO, that kind of stuff, if that makes sense. But that's the thing. I mean, anything below 35 is great. Y'all are in your 20s, which is great. It's good. You got experience though.
Thank you so much.
Well, you do. I'm just giving a shout out there for you. But most people, they're working. You got to think about the phase of where people going through. Really below 35, we're still trying to figure it out, right? We're still not in the job we want. We're making okay money, but not enough to we can do some things. When you start getting up that 35 to 65, that's where our income earning years are, and they're making money. And that's kind of why I like, one of the great things you can do to target investors. Just because you live in Canada doesn't mean you can't mail to people here in the United States, right? If you got deals here in the United States, this is why we target like self-directed IRA investors. All right. And if somebody uses their self-directed IRA, there's a couple of things you instantly have in common with them. A, they're investors like you, because people just don't go open up a self-directed IRA like an equity trust or Mid-Atlantic or anything like that, unless they are a real estate investor and they've attended a workshop, a seminar, some sort of conference. Okay. 2, they're looking for deals. Either they've done deals, or they're looking to fund some deals, and the deals have to be passive. They can't be going out there and fixing it and flipping it themselves. It's got to be a passive relationship. So that's great. So they've got money. They're looking for deals, right? And it's got to be passive. Great ways for you to use other people's money, whether it's notes or rentals or whatever you want to do with that. And the great thing is that you don't have to explain real estate investing to them. Okay. The average, what we found is that the average person with an IRA account here in the United States, 67% of people have 150 grand or more in their IRA. Well, that means you really only need 6 to 7 people to raise $1 million. And if you drop a postcard or letter campaign out to 200 or 300 people once or twice, you're going to get 6 or 7 people to respond to you, if not more, and say, hey, I saw that you bought a property with your IRA, or you lent money out of your IRA for a property, you're looking for more deals. If I get letters like that from anybody, I pick up the phone and call them because I know that they're savvy and they know what the hell they're talking about. So, and it's easy. You can literally go to any, from most of the states, you can go to the appraisal districts, the assessor's office, and type in Equity Trust or Quest Trust or Mid-Atlantic, whatever, and it'll pull up a whole list of people who have used their IRA to buy a piece of property and their mailing address. Or you go to the recorder's office, the county clerk, can do the same search there. It'll show up everybody who's lent money out of their IRA on a first mortgage or second mortgage. So it's just an easy thing. It's the only direct mail we do is to IRA investors. I mean, we don't have to do much of that now, but you could even get away without having a direct mail if you pull a list. I mean, some of these counties, you can actually do a download of the mailing list. Mailing addresses is ridiculous. And then all you got to do is hire a VA to go skip trace and go find them on LinkedIn or Facebook and message them that way. And that's one thing we've done quite a bit as well.
Okay, so on that topic, when it comes to Facebook, if just another option on trying to find seller financed owners, can you go into detail a bit about how that process works of finding seller finance leads on Marketplace, and what kind of filters to use to find owners if we wanted to, if that's even an option?
I don't target owner finance notes.
Okay. Yeah.
Because here's the thing, and look, I think we're in the 21st century, if I'm correct, right? 21st century, right? People, I mean, and there's other people out there teach note investing about creating owner finance notes and targeting owner finance notes. There's nothing wrong with it. It's great. It's just, I've never found it to be an effective use of my time. Because here, if you're going to buy a list of owner finance or seller finance leads and then mail to them, these are people that have financed a property. They're probably an investor and they don't want to sell it at a discount. Or B, they had to sell the property because they either overbought it, over rehabbed it, or they couldn't sell it traditionally. And so it's a lot of tire kicking. It's a lot of talking to people and a lot of tire kicking for one note, primarily, right? Some people do it religiously. I get it, but most of the time it's going to be one note. Well, they don't want to take a big discount. I have to go back to that thing every week trying to find a new owner finance seller. That's what never made me excited about that. But why I'm a little bit different is we target banks, we target institutions, we target hedge funds that have these non-performing notes that we can buy that will send us lists every month that I don't have to, they'll tell me kind of what they're looking for. And if it makes sense, it makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, great. But it's a repeat. I don't have to send any direct mail campaigns out or any of this stuff to kick the tires and light the fires. So what I tell people to do, if that's still something, I mean, don't get me wrong, we get plenty of people that call us for their owner finance. They're motivated at that point, which is fine. But I just simply post, hey, I buy notes. Post it on LinkedIn. Join some of these Facebook groups. Hey, I got a note for sale. Great, let's talk. That's all you got to do for the most part. I buy notes, performing and non-performing, institutional and non-institutional. And that leads to people responding. I mean, the most important thing about marketing, ladies, is just being consistent in it. And I think this is the biggest fallacy and where most real estate investors get it wrong. 97% of investors get it wrong because they take classes, and most of the classes teach them the nuts and bolts. They don't teach them the marketing side of the business. Okay. In today's world, we're all in marketing. I don't care what you're selling, tiddlywinks, rentals, wholesaling, performing, non-performing notes. You have to embrace the marketing side. Too many Betty Blue Hairs are teaching the nuts and bolts because they don't understand marketing. Yesterday alone, I posted one video on TikTok. I got 20,000 views on it, and I had 15 people reach out to me to fund that deal.
Wow.
Okay. 15 people on a $4 million note deal. Okay. And I had to educate them because they thought it was the property, but still, that's a lot of private capital for a 1-minute video that took me 5 minutes to create and post. All right. That's the great thing. And I post consistently. I post on all the platforms. Facebook is a bit of a dumpster fire. Okay. Not politically because of what just Zuckerberg said, but it's been a dumpster fire for a while, right? The fact that that platform only allows, your followers, maybe 1% of your followers to see stuff, I've never liked that. Okay, so I'll post there. There's some groups there, but there's a lot of Debbie Downers, on Facebook and there's some trolls in the groups. Oh, you can't do that. Yeah, you can. Shut the F up. Pardon my French, but posting LinkedIn, I think, is a better way to post because LinkedIn is more professional. You can actually go on there and type in note investors or put in your profile, we buy notes, and that's a search. In a lot of cases, that's why my company's We Close Notes. That's social media marketing at its basis, 10 years ago. But talking about what you're doing, talk about the deals that you've done, talk about your experience, and just follow up, whether it's posting once a day, everybody can do that, or sending an email out to your database at least once a week. That's the biggest fallacy too. It's besides not posting and following up on a regular basis, because not everybody's going to sit waiting on Facebook for you to post a deal, right? They got life. So you got to post across different platforms. It's like casting a net. But email all these people that you meet, ask for their email address, ask them to opt in. Can I add you to my buyers list or my sellers list or my investors list? And then email them once a week. It could be a deal that you're working on. It could be just a basic happy Labor Day, happy, Thanksgiving, happy Boxing Day. You know what I mean? Because every month has at least one holiday. And you're doing something. And the whole idea about marketing to find deals or raise capital, it all comes down to just give, then ask. A great book that's still very valuable is Gary Vaynerchuk's Jab, 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 Right Hook. Okay. And the policies that you give. So giving is like simply, hey, happy holidays. We hope you have a great Christmas. Another one is, hey, we're going to this local investment club meeting, or we're going to a networking event, if you're in the area, come out and join us, or see, hey, here's a deal that we did. We flipped this note, or we flipped this property. Got some experience. Great. If you don't have experience, guess what? Post a deal that you're working on. Okay. Hey, here's a deal that we're looking at. If you're interested in finding out more information, let's touch. And then the ask is, hey, we've actually got a deal that we've been working on. We're looking for a funding partner. Not a joint venture partner. We're looking for a funding partner. If you'd like to find out how to make an above average return, let's talk. And that's the ask. But most people wait till they need funds and then they try to market and ask, which is reverse. That's putting the cart before the horse. You got to build a little rapport socially online so people start to look for your stuff, or they start to see your stuff. If you think about, are y'all sports fans, ladies?
Yeah.
What sport? What's your favorite sport to watch? Basketball? Okay. Yeah. How many McDonald's commercials play during a basketball game?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
Can we agree it's probably more than once, right?
Oh, for sure.
Every once. Da-da-da-da. You know what I mean? Yeah. You're probably smelling and tasting the French fries right now as we talk about it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So if they play at every commercial break, if they're doing it so they know they're going to hit you at some point, right? You got to have that main philosophy that you got to hit your investors and your contact, not every 15 minutes during a timeout, but multiple times. So that's why sending an email blast out is a good touching point. Posting to the different socials, Facebook, LinkedIn, it could be the same thing, Instagram, Threads, Twitter, just sharing it everywhere, what you're working on. And then just following up, building them, because you want people to start thinking about you when they think about real estate. I'm thinking about those ladies. That's what it comes down to. I'm hungry. What am I thinking? Oh, I saw that. Yes, I need to call them with a deal. Or, hey, I left my job. I've got an old 401k retirement plan I need to put to work. Who do I need to talk to? I want to get into real estate. Let me call those ladies that I see all the time. They look trustworthy. I like them. And you ladies too. Here's a great thing. I know a lot of women are like, oh, scared. I don't want to be in front of the camera, or I got to have my makeup and hair all perfect. You know what? When a woman is raising capital, it's already easier in a good way. When you see a guy trying to raise capital, a brick wall goes up, right? That's why my background has a brick wall here, okay? With women, it's easier. You don't have that sales. It's just that kind of that motherly sister, daughter kind of aspect of things. Like, okay, I'll listen to them. so it works in your favor. You just got to share what the information, and we're all looking for information. And the number one question too, if somebody asks you a question and you don't know, say, you know what, I don't know. That's a good question. Let me ask and find out. And that actually builds rapport with people. So
fair enough. And I know that you mostly work and get leads from banks. I know you do more non-performing. I think I heard once that you mentioned you also sometimes get leads from mortgage brokers, right?
Mortgage bankers. Mortgage banker.
brokers.
So here in the United States, there's people that originate loans for a variety of lenders. Mortgage, they're mortgage brokers. But mortgage bankers, they're lending off of either their warehouse line with a major bank or their own funds, and they'll retain it, have it on their portfolio. So mortgage bankers are a great way to find. They're not going to have hundreds and hundreds of loans, but they'll have 1, 2, 3 that are on their portfolio that they need to get rid of, or they sold that loan and had to buy it back because the borrower went into default or missed a payment in the first 6 months. So yeah, mortgage bankers, we'll see stuff from them pretty regularly, as long as we drip market. I've got to follow up with them on a pretty regular basis.
Fair enough. And we've been doing the Octopus CRM and messaging out using the script you gave. Basically, want to make sure you're the right person, not so-and-so company. Here's what I'm looking for. And it's the same script that would be going out to mortgage bankers as well. The same.
So yeah, I mean, if you're pulling a list with Octopus, Octopus CRM, special asset managers, secondary marketing, whole loan traders is a thing to find pools. But yeah, mortgage bankers, I would simply say, hey, I see you're a mortgage banker. Do you have anything on your warehouse line or on your portfolio you want to get off? It's a pretty simple aspect. If they're a mortgage banker, not a broker, that's the big thing. So search for a mortgage banker.
Yes.
That's the route to go. You have anything on your warehouse line you want to get rid of? Anything with any hair on it?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And what would you suggest saying if we wanted to message rehabbers, fix and flippers? What kind of intro message or? I'm sure.
I wouldn't. I mean, here's the thing: fix and flippers, they want the real estate. I mean, you have to. And why would you? Let me ask you: what are you looking for with fix and flippers? If you don't mind me asking.
Just through learning, I have heard that they also a lot of times like to sell off their owner financed or their leads.
So I wouldn't target. I think you're going to be better off doing fix and flippers are going to flip it. If they've got to sell it, they don't want to take a discount. That's another thing. And plus, here's the thing: it's a newly originated note. If you're trying to flip that, it's not a lot of value because A, they usually don't understand how to structure it properly. B, it may not be Dodd-Frank compliant because they just did it themselves. C, they may not get a down payment or a FICO score. So no seasoning, no third-party servicing, and it devalues the paper. I know who's teaching that. I don't think it's a smart thing right now at all. Because I get those phone calls all the day. Hey, I got a note for sale. Okay, well, I want it par. Well, I'm not going to give you par for it, or it's a hard money lender. I got to sell my note off at 12% or 105% of the balance. I'm like, well, I'm not going to overpay the balance on it. 12% is great, but it's a short-term loan. I still got money costs. No, it's a new note, no origination. And that's a great idea, but I wouldn't be doing it to flip. If you want to buy that for your own money, your own portfolio with your own funds, great, but I just don't think it's too skinny a deal. And when you go to, I've had too many hard money lenders where they don't have paper track record properly. They're collecting payments themselves. It's not the same type of paper as an institutional loan is. Okay. And it's same thing. I got to go find one once every once in a while. Well, I could put that same energy to getting more banks, more hedge funds to send me stuff on a portfolio basis. Work smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
And if you put on there, hey, I buy notes with your marketing and share it, you'll have enough people to come to you that you don't have to go chase eventually.
Okay. Fair enough. Great. Well, those I think all the questions we had prepared for you.
So what's your goal? What are you ladies looking to do for the most part? One or two, I mean, hopefully it's like one or two things. It's not like 5 things. Because no, if it is, that's fine. We just want to kind of focus down a little bit as best you can.
So for the rest of this year, it really comes down to brokering around 10 to 12 notes. And then looking to maybe in between that or after that, invest in a few of our own. So we'd like to do around, the goal was 5 to hold on to ourselves, hopefully as well by end of year, and just starting there.
So let me give you an example. The brokering, you want to broker about a dozen notes, right? You said?
Yeah.
What's your profit margin you want to make on each one?
That's a good question.
You don't have an answer to it because you hadn't thought about that, right?
Yeah, still
So,
figuring
so your goal is to find a note, non-performing, performing note that you can flip to somebody else, right?
Correct.
So you got to go find the deal and then find a buyer, right?
Right.
So you got to do all this marketing to find a buyer that you're going to make the lowest end on. If I can give you any advice, stop chasing buyers. I get brokering because you don't have a lot of capital yourself right now. I get it, but put the energy into raising capital instead of only making a small amount on the note. Make the lion's share and use somebody else's money to fund the deal, because it's the same energy to go find a buyer. That person may very well be a funder for you. Or instead of going out and targeting all these guys that are going to be greedy or gals that want specifically, go raise capital, go talk to people that have money sitting on the sidelines and put that money to work. And then you make the lion's share by arbitraging. You're still making money, cash flow, and you get a big chunk of the back end too, whether it's a foreclosure or a refinance later on. It works a whole lot better than wholesaling. And I get people want to hold, I don't have capital. Well, that's great. And it's okay. Wholesale should be your last ditch effort to move a deal, make something that's better than nothing. But you're going to put all this marketing to find the buyers. You might just put it to find funding sources, because there's so much money sitting out there. And if it's a good deal, there's good money out there. And I'll tell you what, you find a deal, you reach out to me, I bet I can help you find a funder for it. Okay.
Love that. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
This was awesome. Thanks so much.
No problem. Y'all make it to the States at any time?
We were just in Miami, actually.
Down in Viva Miami. What was taking you down to Miami?
Her birthday.
Yeah. Just
very nice. Very nice. Miami Beach, Miami. What'd y'all do while y'all were down there for?
Yeah, we stayed on South Beach. So, we just kind of hung out at the beach. We're right on Oceans Drive. So super lively, obviously.
Yes.
Yeah, and just enjoyed the weather. We're a lot darker. I probably look like you in the winter, but this is my tan color here.
Hey, I got the farmer's tan here. I might look tan in my face, but if you take the hat off, it's all white up here. You know what I mean? So here's the thing about Miami Beach. I'll tell you, Miami, it's a beautiful city. It is absolutely great. Back in 2010, I was buying condo notes for $5 and $10 grand.
Wow.
On A1A. They were selling them. They were basically giving them away, but it was taking 2 to 3 years to foreclose. There was a bunch that I bought cheap, and then we went through the foreclosure process and sold them at the auction and made money that way. But it's not that same way now. But Miami is getting hit. The condo market is going stagnant in there. Plus, part of Miami is, they keep saying Miami and Miami Beach will be underwater in 10 years. Who knows? We'll see.
Wow.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we love the States. We are considering potentially moving.
Yeah.
Eventually, to get away from the cold. So we're looking at options.
Get away from that dictatorship. Trudeau.
Yeah, that too. We're over it.
Yeah.
Careful, he's gonna block me now as to
this whole thing's about to shut down.
Yeah, I know, right? Oh, good times. Well, if you ever make it down to Texas, ladies, let me know. Definitely. Also, here's a couple of things. If you come to the States, you might check out a couple conferences that are worth going to. Okay. All right. One would be Bill McCarroll runs an event out in Texas here called, or it's usually in Vegas, called Paper Source. So it's a good conference, usually 300 to 400 note investors there. It's focused a lot on owner finance paper, performing, partial, stuff like that. I spoke at it a couple years back. That's a good one. FinCon in Atlanta in about a month and a half is a great for finance and marketing. That's one of the ones I always go to. It's just a phenomenal way to learn. It has anybody in the finance with like a newsletter, realtor, insurance, real estate investors is a niche of them out there showing how they're marketing today's world. And it's just absolute, it's pretty affordable too in Atlanta. But those are two that I'd highly recommend. I'd also look at a great way to raise capital too for you ladies is go attend your local real estate investment club. Go network with people up there at these investment groups, because there's people looking for money. And as we get into the end of the year, it may be dwindle down, but January, February, March, people are definitely want to do New Year's resolutions and stuff like that. So go build those relationships now by networking and showing up and sharing what you're working on. I mean, people respond to action takers. People, those that stand out that are actually doing, and you're obviously in the 1%ers of taking action. Stand out, make yourself known. You two can divide and conquer, but it's well worth doing.
Great advice. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Scott. Really
You're
appreciate
welcome,
it.
ladies. Anytime I'm here. You can book a phone call, talk with ScottCarson.com, or you got my cell phone number. Feel free. I'm always glad to help answer out as well. Okay.
Thanks so much.
All right.
Rest of your day.
You all have a great rest of your day. I look forward to hearing from you. When you run into some more questions, feel free to reach out. Always glad to. And I know we'll see you at the top. Okay.